I'm reading One Piece for the first time, and I just finished the Amazon Lily and Impel Down arcs, so let's talk about it. All right, so I'm combining my thoughts on the Amazon Lily and Impel Down arcs because both of them are pretty short, and I don't have too much to say. But let's just start with the Amazon Lily. This was a fun arc. It wasn't what I expected coming off the end of Sabaody and wondering like what the hell just happened to the Straw Hats. But we all got shunted to different places on Earth, and Luffy finds himself amongst the Amazons. It was actually really funny. But for only, I think, 11 chapters, like, they did a pretty good job developing Boa Hancock. Is that her real name? I can't remember her real name all of a sudden. But a really interesting character, basically gets whatever she wants because of her beauty, but kind of puts up this, I don't know if it's fair to call it a facade or not, of being like this cold-hearted, kind of stuck-up princess, but in reality, she's a slave, and she's kind of keeping up this veneer in order to protect her island to the best of her ability. And then, of course, she falls in love with Luffy, like the one man who's seemingly immune to her whimsy and, feminine weapons, if you will. So yeah, this was fun. I really like that she has kind of fallen for Luffy and he's just completely oblivious, and is, of course, instrumental in actually getting him to Impel Down to try and save his brother. And that brings us to Impel Down. Oh, but actually, in Amazon Lily, I forgot to say, we finally get introduced to Haki, which is a word I have often heard associated with One Piece, but I've never really understood or known what it was. But we're finally finding out about that. Luffy gets introduced to that on the Amazon island and even starts to use it a little bit. So I can't wait to find out more about what exactly it is, how it's utilized. Luffy's apparently like 1 in 10 million or something in terms of his ability with it. So really cool. Can't wait to find out more. But again, that leads us into the prison, the notorious prison of the One Piece world, Impel Down. And this arc was just so much fun. Like, I don't have a better word for it, but it was just crazy, chaotic, full of familiar faces that got reintroduced. Fun. And obviously the stakes are enormous, honestly as high as they've ever been in terms of Luffy being on the clock to go and save his brother. But nonetheless, it was just such a fun arc, getting to see Oda go crazy with like the different layers of hell and all of the different crazy creatures and devil fruit users that were reintroduced. And again, the cast of familiar characters each having this awesome spotlight, and kind of the through line on all of those reintroductions is just like how good of and charismatic a person Luffy is. Like, some of his like most staunch villains from the past kind of being like, gosh, okay, like, I'll help you because I don't want to owe you anything. Like, it was just so good. And can we just get a moment for the GOAT, Bone Clay? Like, oh my god, I already loved this character, and Oda said, no, let me double and triple and quadruple down on that love, because he had so many fantastic moments. Luffy would be dead without Bone Clay like 3 different times now. Him dragging him through that Arctic wasteland on the 4th level of hell and finding the hidden encampment was so good. And then, of course, his ultimate sacrifice to stay behind and get that gate open for them. I hope we haven't seen the last of him. Also, something that really surprised me during this arc was Blackbeard showing up at the prison. We know that basically everything in the One Piece world is going down right now with the execution of Ace. Him getting transported to the Marine headquarters to be executed is drawing basically everyone there to make sure things go off without a hitch, right? We got all the admirals showing up. We've got all of the warlords of the sea showing up because they all think that Whitebeard's pulling up, and everyone needs to be there to make sure that like all hell doesn't break loose, which means Blackbeard should be there at Marine headquarters as one of the warlords of the sea, and yet he's not. So I was like, okay, wait, what's going on here? Clearly he answers to no one at the end of the day. This man is a rogue, and if you've been here since my OG arc reviews, you'll know that back in Jaya I was like, okay, this dude is meant to be Luffy's foil. So I feel like he is the big bad of the series, most likely, at least in respect to Luffy, right? So, what's he doing here? And as of where I am right now, I just finished the last chapter of Impel Down, which I can't remember what chapter it was. But I don't know why he's there yet. I'm assuming he's there to add someone to his crew. Like, why else would he be descending to the depths of Impel Down? I did see that they talked to, like, the sword guy. I can't remember his name. But he used to be a guard at Impel Down, and he was, like, so evil they just locked him down there. So they encountered him, and so maybe that's who they were after, but it didn't feel like that was the case. That felt more like a happy coincidence. But again, I'm sure I'll find out soon enough, but, like, What is this man planning? Next up, Jinbei. This was a really cool character. We met him in the prison with Ace, and he immediately clocked as like a cool dude, right? But we know that he is a warlord of the sea, so the plot thickens. And I wonder, how did he get in that position? Because, up until this point in the story, the warlords have mostly been villains, or, maybe not fair to call them strictly evil. Some of them certainly are, but, we have characters like Boa Hancock where it's a bit more complicated. So he's seeming like one that is a bit more complicated. And again, he's been thrown in jail, so I'm assuming he probably aligns, a bit more with our good guys. So I'm just interested to find out more about him, how he became a warlord, and how he kind of got that revoked and thrown in prison. And just speaking of the prison in general, as if we needed any more reasons to not trust this government and the power system in place here, just like, what's going on? Like, we got to get the Geneva Convention involved, because some of those layers of hell were like so messed up, right? And then we know that even beyond the layers people are aware of, there are like secret hidden layers, and that's where people like Ace and Jinbei were. And perhaps there's even more hidden layers, right? But the good news is, like, these hidden layers seem to be a lot more chill than the ones above them. So I guess if you're a secret prisoner of the world, it's better than being thrust into the gin pop, because at least you're not freezing or burning to death or getting eviscerated by like a forest of blades. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. And kind of on that note, this is making me like Garp less and less, because what do you mean your grandson's just like in a living hell and you're just like laughing and having a good time about it? And I know it's more complicated than that. I don't know though. Like, Garp, like, what are you even doing being a Marine, man? Like, I don't know. I'm sure, again, black and white, it's gray, but we'll see. But like, get your grandson out of here, okay? Like, so what if you lose your job? Actually, rant not over, because this does have me curious on like, what is the world government's plan here? And I'm sure I'm about to find out, because they're obviously making a big show of this public execution, right? But why? Like, you obviously just have people removed off the face of the earth by throwing them into the depths of this prison, never to be seen or heard from again. So in order to make a big public showing of this, they're doing it for a reason, right? They're making some sort of move on the world, as it were. And we know that they fully know Whitebeard's going to pull up, so like, they're prepared for that. So I guess they're making like a big like world scale move on the power system. So like, the world government, the Marines, they already have their finger on the pulse of this world, and yet they want more power. So I'm guessing this might even be bait to lure out Whitebeard. Otherwise, why not just leave him down here, or just straight up kill him, not in a public way, right? So if the world government is all setting a trap for Whitebeard, then like, what's their move after that? You know what I mean? Obviously, they're at ends. Is that the right phrase? They're at war with pirates, but kind of not really, right? I mean, they are, but like, they're the ones in control. They even work with pirates, with the 7 warlords of the sea, right? So I can't imagine that like Whitebeard is actually like preventing what they're wanting to do. I mean, I guess he is, right? Because that's why they're trying to kill him. I don't know. My thoughts are just coming right here in the moment, so forgive me for not having a more concrete place to land here. But I guess I'm just wondering, what's the actual plan behind the plan here? Like, what is the world government and the Marines aiming to do with all of this? What do they want Whitebeard off the table for? Anyways, that's going to do it for this one, because I'm ready to jump back in and find out what happens next in Marineford, because a lot of you have told me this is one of, if not the best arcs in One Piece, and yeah, I can feel it right now. Like, the stakes are high, everything seems to be reaching a boiling point, and it feels like everything's about to change. So let's get into it.